Sit back and throw one back with your pinkies in the air and a middle finger to the world. And join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in professional wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and give us a big old thumbs up. And now, without further ado, let's look back on this day in pro wrestling history. It is February 17th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1942, Japanese legend Seiji Sagagachi. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry. 1961, NWA, WCW, and USWA enhancement talent Yoshi Kwan. 1984, one of the most intelligent people in this business that you will ever talk to, trust me, Jimmy Jacobs. 1986, Ricardo Rodriguez. And last but not least, 1993, the Luchador, known as Magnus. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for February 17th. 1993, Kurt Von Brauer. 2007, Mike Awesome. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, your pro wrestling history highlights for February 17th. 1964, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation run a show in Madison Square Garden. In the main event, world champion Bruno Sammartino defeats Giant Baba with a backbreaker. 1969, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation once again runs Madison Square Garden. In the main event, Bruno Sammartino and Killer Kowalski wrestle to a double disqualification. 1975, and we're not done yet with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation running Madison Square Garden on this date in history. In the main event, Spiros Aaron defeats world champion Bruno Sammartino via DQ. 1981, El Connect defeats Tiger Jet Singh in Mexico City, Mexico to win the UWA World Heavyweight title. 1986, and just when you thought the World Wrestling Federation was done running Madison Square Garden on February 17th in history, you'd be wrong. In the main event, World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan defeats Intercontinental Champion Randy Savage in a lumberjack match when George the Animal Steel tripped Savage as the lumberjacks were fighting on the floor, allowing Hogan to hit the leg drop and the win. 1989, Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden defeat Kevin and Kerry Von Erich in Dallas, Texas to win the World Class Tag Team titles. 1996, Lex Luger defeats Johnny B. Bad for the WCW World Television title in Baltimore, Maryland at a non-televised event, ending Bad's second reign. Don't feel bad for Bad, though, because he wins the title back the next day. 1996, PG-13 defeats Jesse James Armstrong and Tracy Smothers for the USWA Tag Team titles in Memphis, Tennessee, winning back the titles they had lost only 3 days earlier. This would mark the beginning of JC Ice and Wolfie D's 11th run with the titles. Also in 1996, ECW ran their Cyber Slam event held in conjunction with a fan convention at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This event is most notably known for Brian Pillman making his ECW debut, cutting a obscenity-laced promo against Eric Bischoff and WCW, and threatening to pee in the ring. He is later escorted out of the ring when he attacks a fan with a fork. He was a mark set up, contrary to a lot of legendary stories. 1997, Psycho Sid defeats Bret Hart for the WWF World Heavyweight title during a live edition of Raw. 1998, during a Raw in Waco, Texas, the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, defeat the Rock and Roll Express to win the NWA World Tag Team titles. And last but not least, sticking in 1998, Macho Man Randy Savage receives Harvard Lampoon's Real Man of the Year award. The Humor magazine gives out the award every year to the male specimen of the human species who exemplifies universal manliness. Past honorees had been John Wayne, all of Aerosmith, and John Candy. Those were your pro wrestling history highlights for February 17th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.